Good evening and welcome to Slam the Gavel, the show that tells it all regarding family court, criminal court, and other court issues, as well as CPS. I am your host, Maryann Petri. You can find me, my books, and blogs on dismantlingfamilycourtcorruption.com. And if you have a tale to tell, you're welcome to contact me there as well at dismantlingfamilycourtcorruption.com. Have a return guest on. I have my best friend, Heidi Weber, on. I've known her for years. She first interviewed me when I came out with my book, and I put her in my Raised by These Wolves Volume 2. She is chapter 22, and her picture is in here as well. And I was so glad to have her story in this book to document the corruption of CPS and her federal case. So it's her and her husband, Matt. And her case is particularly tragic as it should never have happened to begin with, like a lot of our cases. And it was unfortunate that I believe it was Judge Connolly who
Yeah,
dismissed it five
yeah.
weeks before trial. And this takes place in Wisconsin. So I welcome you, Heidi Weber.
Hey, hello,
Hey,
my friend. How are you?
okay, how are you doing? So you're going to try
I'm
this
doing
again.
great. I'm doing
Huh?
great. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. That was really nice.
Uh,
We're besties. We're kind of like sisters by trial, kind of.
right.
You and I have had a lot of challenges, and things that we've
Yeah.
shared, which made us friends. Plus, we both love the same kinds of things. So there's that.
Yes. Oh,
Anyway,
definitely.
yes, I interviewed you, and then we got to talking, and we found a lot of things in common, and we thought maybe we can change the world. So,
Mhm.
I think that's how our friendship started, isn't it? Kind of like,
Right.
we thought we could
Right.
change everything. And
Well,
I'm still working on it. So are you.
yes. So,
Um,
the more we talk about it, the more change will be brought forth.
I, you know, from your lips to God's ears, I hope that is true. I was a whistleblower. I was a dean in a university, higher ed whistleblower, I think. And so I went through that horrible case. Um, I mean, it wasn't it was horrible in that it was a really long legal case and a 7-day jury trial, and that was really difficult. And um, the school that I was working at was defrauding students, and so I stood up, and I ended up the jury was in my unanimous in my favor. So there's that. I've authored two college textbooks in
Mhm.
medical terminology and believe it or not, professionalism and healthcare law and ethics. And then I'm on Quora. I routinely answer questions about CPS and whistleblowing there. What else do I don't know what else I do. You
Oh, you
know,
talk to parents. You got parents
oh,
talking to
all
you
the time.
too.
Yeah, yeah. My content on Quora, I have a lot of people asking questions about CPS, which I've kind of become an expert as you have, by trial, not by necessarily
Mhm.
wanting to be. Um, uh, we have three daughters. My husband and I have been married for since the beginning of time, it seems like.
Mhm. Yeah.
We
And you
grew up
guys knew each other in high school too.
yeah, we grew up right down the road from each other, and we have discrepancies on who kissed who, but we kissed each other when we were in like in seventh grade, seventh and eighth grade. But and so we've
Oh,
been together for a long time because we're older than dirt at this point. So
oh
um anyway, we have three daughters and they're all grown obviously at this point. Our youngest daughter was 17 and a half, to be exact, 17 years and 8 months old, when CPS came knocking on our door. And you have to understand that, I'd been through this whistleblower ordeal. And, I had the window shot out of my car back then. And it was just terrible
Mhm.
intimidation. So I'm thinking that, maybe this has something to do with that. Um, but our oldest daughter has some mental health issues and is alienated, or estranged from us, I guess.
but she's also admitted to that mental health
Yeah,
issues.
absolutely. Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. This is
you're
self.
not saying that. She was also saying that.
Right, right, right. She has issues with depression and anxiety. And I'm a medical professional, just like you're a nurse. I mean, I've been a medical assistant practitioner for since the beginning of time too. Before I was a university dean and teaching the medical program there.
Mhm.
Um, so our oldest daughter has had struggles with, with bullying and things like that. And our middle daughter kind of is neutral, how middle kids are. They're just kind of float along or whatever. Our youngest daughter was still the only one at home and she was 17. And CPS came knocking on her door. Um, understand that what a month prior to them knocking on her door, my husband Matt had an unexpected stroke from COVID.
Mm,
And so we were dealing with that. I mean, it was just the most horrible time in my life. There was so much going on.
right. And
This,
your youngest helped out at that time.
yeah, yeah. She was going through the nurses aid program at school, and she was a huge help. I mean, I'm like melting down. All this, my whole world's like,
Hmm.
um, and then after my husband had a stroke, her and he were in a car accident 2 weeks
Mm.
later. After he gets home, after we jailbroke him because there was nowhere for him to do rehab, so we had to bring him
Uh,
home. And I'm like, I'll just do it here. We'll just do, whatever. So they get in a car accident, total my car. This lady plows into our
oh,
youngest daughter and my husband. And so I'm dealing with my car being totaled. And then the day before CPS comes, our youngest daughter has an emergency appendectomy the day before,
ah,
literally. So we had bam, 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 all these things happen. And I'm thinking, when they show up, I'm thinking, great, maybe they'll have some resources to help me. I'm like struggling with,
oh, they never
all
do.
the stress, I should have known better. I should have known better. In healthcare, we back in South Dakota, where I'm from, or where we're originally from, we, our CPS people are pretty decent there. I mean, at least the ones that I always dealt with at the clinic,
Mhm.
so I kind of, I'm skeptical. I was skeptical, but I really didn't know. Like everybody, we don't know. You don't know. You just trust that that's what I'm like, they're going to see that we're decent people and this is
Oh
going to be
yeah, yeah.
fine.
They're gonna look through the fridge and leave.
Yeah, they're going to be gone and I'm not going to have to deal with them anymore. And, maybe they'll give me some help or resources too on top of it, to help. So anyway, long story short, they come here and tell me that there's a concern, not even an allegation, a concern for an allegation of drug use by me, not Matt, not my husband, just me. And I'm mandated to take, I mean, she whips out this like store-bought drug test and says to me, I need to watch you do this and you need to take this right now. Like, no. First of all, where are your medical credentials to be able to even administer this test, much
Mhm.
less, do quality control on the results and everything else? Said, I work in a clinic in a lab. I know, you know, quality control. I don't trust you. I don't know you. I'm not doing anything. You're not going to come in my home and tell me what to do.
Right.
And I said, this is ridiculous. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. And she said, well, because you're refusing to do the drug test today, we're taking your daughter.
Oh,
I said,
yeah.
um, why? Like, what grounds do you have? Um, where's the scenario of abuse or neglect? Because, I know that you function only under those two things. So, I mean, none of this makes any sense. And there's a deputy sheriff with her. And now he stands up and he says, I think let's calm down. Let's do a tour of your house, whatever. I'm like, sure. I have nothing to hide. I mean, I'll take you on a tour. That's fine. I'm not going to allow you to do an invasive, test on me. I don't even know you, whatever.
Mhm.
So I take him on a tour, go through the pantry. We have this nice house that Matt built. He built it for me after my whistleblower case. So go through Janet's room, all the clothes and all this stuff, and she's at the end of her senior year, and we're getting ready for graduation and blah blah blah. And he says he turns to me and my husband Matt and says, "Yeah, I don't find any probable cause here. I'm closing my side of the case when I get back to office." What do you mean your side of the case? How does that work? Yeah, I'm like, aren't you both here together? Are you, yeah, I'm totally going, what? And she goes, well, I don't care. I'm still taking your daughter. And either you can know where she's going, you either allow her to go stay with your oldest son, or don't know where it's going. One
Oh,
or the other.
that's a
I'm
kill.
like,
That's
I
kidnapping.
so it is. It literally was like Matt and I call it assisting a runaway. She's never run away ever. She is an honor student. She got both of our daughters, our middle daughter and our youngest daughter, were both in the National Honor Society. They were both captains of their athletic teams. She just got done with the state award-winning dance. She's the captain of her dance team. Um, she's all three of our kids were great kids. They never got any trouble. They never did anything wrong. They never um I was just I think I was sitting there in shock, Mariana.
Oh,
We've talked
yeah.
about this before. Usually I am like a toughie. I'm like, I'm standing up for whatever. Hey, wait a minute.
Mhm.
And I think I was just so overwhelmed with my husband's stroke and
Oh,
this
yes.
and that, but I was
Car
just
accident.
like totally, out of my mind. I mean, like not even okay, whatever. I don't need, blah. So they walk, she ushers her out the door, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I guess at least I know where she's at. And I know she's at her daughter's in Minnesota, which is across the,
But
you know.
but she made the unfortunate
And so I
mistake,
stop them at the door.
right? Because she made the unfortunate mistake of making your daughter drive after this operation. And I don't know if she was taking anything for the pain, but to put someone behind the wheel.
Yep,
This is how negligent CPS is that they would do this to a young person.
absolutely. And she's epileptic too. I mean, she's on seizure medication twice a day. Because she started having epilepsy when she was like 11. She kind of her and I, we worked with a neurologist and she overcame that. So she does really well on medication, but that's not to say that she couldn't have a seizure,
Right.
if she's under stress or whatever. And she was crying at the time.
Right. And she had just a garbage bag full of her clothes. This is what they all do. They have the kid put everything in a garbage bag because they have such disrespect for children.
Right. Well, and they had told her, okay, when they first came in our house, we let them speak with Jana first, and we weren't in the room. I mean, so, but we didn't know, the sheriff was recording it. So we got a copy of the recording, now that, for our court case. But anyway, they were speaking with her in her room. They let her boyfriend, her 19-year-old boyfriend, stay in there with her. And he did a lot of the talking. I mean, he's away at college and he's just totally making up stuff as he's going along,
Mm.
which blows my mind. But she says right in her interview, I'm not unsafe. I um neither of my parents have ever laid a hand on me, which we haven't. They never gave us a reason to. And she's an independent, not a vulnerable child is what they call it. You know what I mean? Vulnerable child is a child that needs protection from somebody, and she's almost 18. She doesn't need anybody to her necessarily.
Yeah, this is
So that
ridiculous.
should have been it should have been out the door right at that point because um, and so anyway, I stop them at the door. So you made mention of the seizure medication and the pain medication, the narcotics. I stop her at the door while they're, going to walk out. And I ask her, do you have your seizure medication and your pain medication? And she says yes. And I say it loud enough for everyone to hear. And I said, do you even ask if they have allergies? I mean, do you even want to know any of this information? Or, well, her sister, excuse me, her sister will have it. I'm
Oh,
like, well, you know, yeah, you will hope so. Anyway, and there's a whole nother story with the oldest daughter and inheritance and money. There's a money motivation, put it that way there. So so she goes, they send her driving on narcotics, a day after abdominal surgery
oh,
with no money, granted, by herself into Minneapolis, St. Paul City area where she has never driven. I mean, she didn't get her license until like 4 months before this because as an epileptic, she has to wait till she's seizure free in order to get her driver's license. So she had to wait a little bit longer. And, she's never driven in the city more than twice, and they send her right in there alone on the freeway. You know, no money. If she breaks down, she has no nothing.
no money, no
And
nothing.
right before, right, nothing. They told her right before they left, and see, we're in the house, so we didn't know this. We're thinking that she's riding with the social worker or whatever. She told her, do not speak to your parents. Do not answer any texts from them from now on.
They
Yeah,
are,
imagine that.
yeah, they are the true alienators, followed by the judges and attorneys.
But she was mad at me because I was calling her, you know, I even said, you're violating my fourth, 15th Amendment right. Come in my house and tell me what to do. That's a violation of my privacy rights.
Hmm.
If I would have been smart, I would have said, get the hell out of my house. I mean, they have to technically leave, but I didn't like an idiot, but I was
Well,
so
I did the
overwhelmed.
same thing because I didn't know.
So she goes over to our oldest daughters. Once I find out that she's driving, which is like 15 minutes later, I'm freaking out. So I'm, calling her on the phone because I'm like, oh my God, are you okay? Call me when you get there. Call me, blah, blah,
Hmm.
blah. No phone call from her. Nothing. That was the last time I talked to her. That was 6 years ago, almost.
Oh, that's
And
terrible.
I have texts all the way up until, I've told you this before. I have texts all the way up until the, the night before. I love you, mom. Love you, mom.
Hmm.
150 times a day. I'm going to bed now. I'm going over to camp. I'm doing this. Blah, blah, blah. I have a speech that she gave just 2 weeks before this where she says, thank you, mom and dad, for everything you've done. I can't wait to share college with you. I'm so excited. And then right after her surgery, the day before, she put a post on Facebook that said, my dad and I have been through a lot together, and it's a picture of him and her, that I took. And she just said, I'm so grateful for my mom and my dad and it was a beautiful,
Oh,
cute little thing. Um, and then all of a sudden, that's the last time I talked to her. So if anybody questions whether alienation exists or whether CPS does alienate your children from you, it's real. It
it's
is so real. She never wants to speak to us again. We're never told why. Um, I think, Matt and I have had long talks about this, and it's hard on me because you know how emotional this is. But um, I think, later on down, and you got to think my husband's not included in any of this. This allegation is just against me.
right.
Um, so I know that it came from our oldest daughter. I know who else would.
Mm.
And then they don't even care that Matt's a fit parent. They just totally gloss over that and don't even. So they're doing all these things, and he's not even under any allegation. There's no reason to take a child or remove her. Or I mean, that's total violation. Well, he went to go get her, and the caseworker um, was on the phone with our daughter, and at our oldest daughter's house. Well, my husband, I stayed home because I thought I don't want to get involved. If the allegations against me, I don't want to be
Mhm.
anywhere, I don't want to confuse anything. So um, my husband went over to get her a couple weeks later. We weren't being allowed to talk to her on the phone. We weren't allowed, she wasn't answering. We're told that it's her that doesn't want to talk to us. And like, what? I mean, they were pitting her against us. They were
Mhm.
trying to get us to, you know what I mean? Like, it would believe this all came from her or from, so I stayed home. My husband went over to get her and he called the police, the local police at where our daughter lived, and said, "Hey, I just need to pick up my daughter. I need an escort. I just want to make sure that there's no kind of, my husband's really calm and, he didn't want any fight or anything like that." And so husband is the one that called the police on a non-emergent thing.
Mhm.
They came over, they went in the house, told my husband to wait outside. He's the one that called, weird. They're making fun of him. He just had a stroke. They're like laughing and joking. He's outside waiting, waiting,
In the
waiting.
cold.
The
It was
officer,
cold.
I think, yeah, the officer, I think he lost his mind and forgot, you know, why he was there, or who called him, or whatever. So he gets on the phone with the caseworker, and he can be heard to say, "Well, parents have rights, and we're going to have to work around it." Well,
Oh,
what would that tell you?
yeah.
What do you think that conversation was about? You know, and later in
Yeah.
deposition, we ask, and oh no, oh no, 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 no. So then, he says, "Well, I'm sending dad home." Again, violation of parental rights. My husband hasn't done anything, and
Hmm.
she is a minor under 18. And um, so my husband does what they ask and comes home, never told why, never told. He's just waiting outside, and all of a sudden the officer comes out and says, "You need to go home and take it up with Pierce County, take it up with your county the next day," or whatever. And so my husband's like, "Okay, well, hear me, big mouth." I'm on the phone with him, going, "Why isn't he allowed to pick up his daughter? What is going on? Blah, blah, blah." And the same police officer is just rude. I mean, rude to me on the phone, going, "You need to take it up with the county, blah, 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 blah." So my husband comes home and we're talking about this, going, "What just happened? What, what?" So
Mm.
the officer calls us back right after my husband and says, "Hey, I just want to make sure that you know that I put a police hold on your daughter." Great. Why? Why would you do that? Never told why. Never told why. There's never a reason. I mean, my husband wasn't erratic or anything. He's very calm, anyways. So
Mm.
laid back, too laid back sometimes, I think. Um, and we're never told why. So they put a police hold. He put a police hold. We're never given any information. Um, the caseworker comes back and says, "If you just do this hair follicle, now we moved into a hair follicle drug test that I need to do, which is expensive. If you know anything about healthcare, it's not it's super expensive to run.
Mhm.
It's um and it goes back, I think, what do they go back, Maryann? Like a year, I think. It can tell up to a year back
Mhm.
if you've been exposed to any drugs or done anything illegal or anything like that. But there's a lot of false positives, there's a lot of false negatives. It's not, especially if you know, may tint or color your hair, like some of us
Right,
do,
right.
I mean,
Yeah.
I know from the clinic that it's not reliable. And I think inadmissible, I think most states will say that whatever they test their own state employees at, which is usually a urine test, is the
Mm.
max that they can, request somebody else to do. So anyway, whatever, regardless of this, I'm like, what? How did this hair follicle testing? Why I have no criminal record, no history of any drug use or alcohol problems, or use, history, no domestic violence, no. Um, I mean, I'm pretty damn ass boring if you ask me. I have
Right.
nothing like in my background other than this whistleblowing and teaching college and
Right.
20, 15 years practicing. So I have nothing. No police, there's no probable cause. The police officer said that day. There's no probable cause, they still remove our daughter. So come to find out, she files a petition for temporary custody. And man, the police report is not available
Oh,
at that time. The one, from the officer that said there's no probable cause. He's not available that day for the hearing, and neither is the report. I file all kinds of letters of recommendation and pictures. Like, oh, I'm like that mom that's constantly taking pictures all the time. So I'm like, all these pictures, the speech that she gave. I'm uploading, trying to add these to this hearing, thinking, oh my God, thank God, a judge is going, somebody with some kind of common sense is going to be able to look at this and go, what the hell's going on?
mhm.
This is kitty. She just jumped in my lap. So,
Oh, how
um,
cute.
so I know she's funny. She's got her tail broken a couple spots and her
Oh,
ribs are broken and she's just so
oh, look at
lovey-dovey. Look
that.
at her. She's so funny.
Aw,
Anyway, she's a cutie pie. She's the middle
yeah.
one. So, she just showed up at our door. So
Oh,
yeah, um, she's funny. So anyway, I'm thinking, great, we get to the judge is just, this is during COVID. So we're at home. A friend of ours who opted to be, he's an attorney and he said, I'll come and help you out, whatever. He's at his house, so we can't even talk to him. And the
mm.
judge is like, Judge hanging Judge Bean. I mean, he's like, you can't talk unless you can only talk through your attorney. Oh, look at her, look, hello.
Oh,
Um, he wouldn't let us speak. He wouldn't let me speak. And then I'm looking, Matt had to stop the judge at the end and ask him if he could be allowed to speak. Because the whole time they're only asking me why, because the case is only against me. They acted like Matt didn't exist. Well, then we look at the documentation. The caseworker wrote Matt's address at a different address in the county. Everything else on the paperwork was correct except for his address.
mhm.
So it looks like we don't live together.
Yep.
She wrote his phone number, his birthday, everything else correct except for his address. And then so
Ah,
I researched that address later on, and it's not even like there's no kids that live there. There's not even a case. So she can't even say that there's a case, literally, like she got it mixed up with something else, some other file or whatever. Um, and you don't catch this right away because, we don't see the big picture until later on.
late,
Look
yeah,
at
right.
you, you're so funny.
Now, this ties in with the case law fabrication that you had sent me
Yes,
last night.
absolutely.
And I have it up here on my
Yeah.
screen. And it said, this is a powerful question. And I hear the fire in it. When a CPS case worker falsifies documents or fabricates a narrative to deceive the court, multiple constitutional rights are implicated, and courts have recognized this as a serious violation. Bear in mind, my friend Heidi and I are not attorneys, but we pull the stuff up to educate other parents. So here's the breakdown of this case. The constitutional rights were violated based on the CPS falsification. Your 14th Amendment due process. Parents have a fundamental liberty
Absolutely.
interest, right? In the care
You do under the First Amendment as well. The
as
First
well.
Amendment, you have a familial association and the fourth and the 14th. And I think didn't you and I talk about the sixth, seventh,
And ninth,
maybe the 11th? I mean, a lot of these are like, a lot of these amendments are, this is pretty fundamental. This is a
right,
fundamental liberty that we all have, that
right.
we need to protect. But what I was going to say about that is give you an example for anybody that is, I think everybody that probably listens to your podcast knows how CPS functions or how they document. Let me put her down. But I'll give you perfect examples. I just told you the scenario about my husband calling, you know, uh, what this caseworker documented in her documentation for the judge was, quote, police were called to the scene first.
Say that again.
Police were called to the scene after hours.
After, okay.
Now, what is that? How does that sound to you? Like, police were called to the scene after hours.
That
That's how
is
she
just
described the whole thing.
dramatics.
As
She's
if
being
as if my
dramatic.
husband was like, the one that, oh my gosh, he's raising hell, and the neighbors had to call the police because it was just such a, I mean, that's the way that sounds, you know,
Mhm.
when, but is it a lie? Is it not? Well, technically, I guess police were called to the scene. You just failed to state that it was my husband that called them
Well,
and
and the police work all
was for
hours.
an
So,
escort, you know?
right. Police work all hours.
Right.
So
But
after
she's
I,
trying to make it, that's how they falsely document. They do it like that so that it appears to be something it's not,
right,
or um yeah, you know what I mean. So
right.
technically it's not untrue per se, but it is, you know.
It's
So
twisted.
right, it's really twisted. And then she wrote that he was erratic. I mean, it, this and her name is you know what? I am gonna her name is Michelle Harris.
Hmm.
If anybody wants to find her, she's in Minnesota. I think she's doing some training there, but she's a peach.
Yeah,
She
she's
went on
training
to write
cops. She's
complete lies. I
she's
mean,
training cops now, I guess.
yeah,
Oh, dear Jesus, help
not
us.
not if I can help it. Not if I can help it.
Mhm.
Um, for very much longer if I can help it. Is she wrote lies. I mean, what other things there in the case record during this time? You got to think there's 4 months before Jana turns 18 and she went to college. They edited her FAFSA, her federal financial aid papers, to omit us off it after we already had her filed and ready for school because she would get more free money if you got rid of us off there. So they had her do that. They
Mhm.
changed her phone number. They changed her permanent address to a foster parent because that temporary custody hearing. Oh yeah, the caseworker had her settled in at foster care before we even temporary custody hearing. So what's the point? That tells me that obviously they already made a decision, you know. They didn't even ask her during the hearing what she wanted or what she thought of. And the part that really gets me, and it's probably a good thing that I didn't find this out till later when I was reading through all these documents, she cried for the first 2 weeks, stuck in this foster care. Um, and they wouldn't let us talk to her or have any contact. And she must have felt so abandoned and so alone. She wouldn't come out of her room and sat on there for the first 2 weeks. And that tells how can any of this be in the best interest of a child? That is just retaliation.
Mhm.
I had made a complaint about this social worker right when she sent my child driving on narcotics. I wrote a written complaint, and I really believe that's where all this from this caseworker just went south. I
Mhm.
mean, she really is narcissistic to the point where she had a narcissistic injury and was going to get even with me, no matter what.
Oh,
Um, she wrote 17 illicit drugs were removed the day the child was taken. I mean, all these things were put into our record. And who ever the record? Nobody. So the judge is going off these completely false statements, that I can sit here and go, you're a nurse. I work in healthcare. I don't even think I know 17 different illicit drugs, much less, I mean, that's ridiculous. That doesn't even make sense.
plus you had a
Um,
police officer there with a
it just,
body cam.
well, the thing was the deputy was there that day and he said he found no probable cause.
Mhm.
Don't you think if there were 17 illicit, first of all, there was no police
Yeah,
report. So and I mean, there's like 100 ways you could drill a hole in this thing. Like what drugs? Where's the evidence?
Mhm.
Where's the proof that they were actually drugs and it wasn't just like flour or sugar or whatever? Who knows?
right.
You know what I mean? There's like holes all over that. That's ridiculous.
That the
But she
police
put
would
these
have
little
to collect
documentations
that.
all the way through.
Heidi, I was thinking,
Right.
the
And somebody
police
would have
should
gone to
have,
jail.
yes,
I'd be in, I would be in jail. I mean, that somebody would go to jail if that was the case. And so it's ridiculous. So she wrote that on there along with my husband living in a different address. Um, and the judge says to Matt and I, we're on Zoom like we are now. He says, um, there's a cold place in hell for parents like you. So
Oh,
that day, I'm sitting here still going, wait, what just happened? Wait, what is he talking about? We didn't know all this stuff was in the record, you know. She also put in there that they'd done garbage pulls. The city police department had done garbage pulls and found drugs and drug paraphernalia, needles, syringes, and all this stuff. And,
where? Where
oh
is
my
it?
God. First of all, we live out in the country. We don't live in the city. So that city police department wouldn't have any jurisdiction. Again, where's the law enforcement documentation? There's nothing. I mean, so it just destroyed my reputation. Then she sends out requests to every doctor's office in 30-mile radius, including my employer at the time, stating that we're under investigation for child abuse neglect and they need to send over any records they can. She purposely sent that everywhere.
Oh,
So now we have my employer, every doctor's office, even though I told her which doctor her daughter went to, you know. So she sends it out anyway to every dentist, every doctor. They try to change my daughter's permanent address to this foster parents. So the post office knows, and we live in a small town, you know, small area. So we have the post office so far, the um, the police know, they're aware. My husband stops in to get a coffee, and my daughter works at the coffee shop, and he's just going to say hi. Again, not anywhere in any case or anything. And pretty soon we find ourselves with him being drug out of the car by the cops, saying that we're violating some no contact order that never existed. And on Main Street in our small town. And I mean, this thing just spirals out of control. It
mhm.
is the most ridiculous, egregious thing. And so I thought, how can I live? How can I live with this and be a mom? How can I go on with my life? Well, what can I do to change this or do something? I have to do something. So we tried to find an attorney to represent us, which typically isn't too hard usually for most things, except for we live right on the Minnesota border where St. Paul and Minneapolis are right there. And so most people go there for services. I need somebody who's licensed in Wisconsin. And guess what? The county we're in has retained one attorney there's like three law firms from all three law firms. So it's a conflict of interest for any of those attorneys to represent somebody against the county. Pretty ingenious, huh?
Oh,
That's pretty
yeah, they had
ingenious.
that planned.
Yeah. And this Madison, the capital, is 4 hours away. And Milwaukee and Green Bay are like 6 hours away on the other side of the state. So there's like no legal representation um, here without us having, the lawyers are like, yeah, sure, we'll come, we can pay us travel time and our fees and this and that. And then there's 7 defendants, so we'll have to pay for it. I mean, there's no way we could have afforded it. There's no way. Even proceeding without an attorney and doing it pro se, we still spent almost $11,000 on this case. And we filed a 1983 case,
Mhm.
after our child turned 18 for violation of our civil rights. These are
Right.
violations of our rights,
And
you
we
know?
have it right up here so parents can see this. Well,
Yeah.
again, the Fourth Amendment, this falsified record is used to justify removal, the seizure of a child, making it unconstitutional, which happened to your daughter and you. So they
Mhm.
unlawfully took your daughter. Then you filed this 42 USC subsection 1983 civil rights violation. And these courts have allowed lawsuits against CPS workers and counties when evidence was fabricated to remove a child. Qualified immunity often does not protect workers in these scenarios because fabrication of evidence is clearly established as unconstitutional. But
Anytime they're maliciously, like the line of that is when they knowingly do something. If they make a mistake or whatever, and they can kind of, well, I don't know, then they get immunity. I mean, 9 times out of 10, they are given immunity if
mhm,
it's just an inadvertent mistake or something like that. But when you can prove that they actually knew what they were doing and they knew that this was going to hurt you or in violation of your rights, which in my case is not, well, evidently it is hard, but it's not, because lying is clearly that means they know that they're doing something to violate your rights or harm you or harm your reputation.
Right.
So, but immunity is hard to overcome. It really, for a lot of, it depends on which area you're in.
Hmm.
Like you're in Pennsylvania, we're in Wisconsin. You're in the Sixth Circuit, aren't you? I think. Which circuit are you in for judicial, for judges?
Um, I believe it was
I think
Western
it's
District.
the
What Western
sixth,
District?
isn't it?
I just, I don't know.
No,
All I
like
know is
no, where
Western.
your circuit court judges, like your three-judge appeal panel that goes before the Supreme Court. So like you have your state courts, like in Wisconsin, we have an Eastern District and a Western District, probably just like with Pennsylvania, right?
Right.
And then above that court is a circuit court, and they usually have like three states. You know, they have multiple states, and they're your court that like that you send your appeals to a lot of times, and they're the ones that review. They're above your district court in your state, and then the next court is the Supreme Court, the big wahoos, you know, the big
Yeah.
people. So this is how far up we were. We were in the federal court, and then there's only one more court above it, and then the Supreme Court. So we filed it directly with the feds, because you file it in your state, you're never going to get a fair shake because CPS is kind of functions under the state and they protect their own people, and that's the way that goes. So, um, I mean, let's just admit it. There's a lot of corruption everywhere.
Yes.
So, I wanted to make sure that we tried to get some kind of fair, um, you know, outcome to it. But don't like pro se people. They don't
No.
like people to file pro se cases. And they don't even this judge, you know, I took all this time. We spent a year in discovery, we did depositions on every one of these people. They admitted under writing these statements, not knowing what they're doing and not verifying anything. And they ran with it. I mean, by the time our up to be 18, and we received a letter, by the way, we received a letter in the mail saying, oh, by the way, your case is dismissed. No, we didn't. That was unsubstantiated.
Oh,
Destroyed my relationship with my daughter. And I still have not seen her in 6 years. And you are telling me that it's oh yeah, well, by the way, not even us, I'm sorry. You take her out, put her in a foster care, she cries, she's traumatized, we're traumatized, I'm like sick, I lost a bunch of weight, I was just overwhelmed anyway. I really thought I was going to die. You know, I thought I was in
oh.
so much pain. I mean, I just had so much going on that I probably wished I would have. I know I did.
Hmm.
I it was just horrible. And then whoopsie, oh whoopsie, sorry, not really sorry, but
Yeah. Yeah. Like let's
um,
start a fire in your living room and then walk out and you're stuck with the problem, but it's over now.
well, we're not accountable. They're
Right.
not accountable for
No.
that. So I filed this 1983 case to hold them accountable because that's bullshit. You
Right.
just destroyed my family for no reason. And you violated my rights and you tried to be invasive in my own home and there's no cause and anyway, um and then they tried to bill us for it too. Tried to after care. So there's always a money hook on everything.
Yeah, you kind of broke up.
So if
What?
all this night, oh, sorry, there's always a money hook on everything, like because they tried to make us pay for foster care,
Oh,
make me and my husband pay. It was like 2 grand a month for foster care, and I'm like, no, no, and we got that dismissed too. But um,
wow.
anyway, we get to this 1983 case where we go through a year of depositions and serving these papers, and I'm learning everything because, I mean, I know a little bit about healthcare law and ethics, but not just regular law and ethics. I how to practice law. Obviously, we're not attorneys. We don't, you know, I don't claim to be. But it is one of our rights to be able to defend. to be able to bring a thing to court without an attorney.
Right.
Being able to file a case and represent yourself is a right that everybody has. It's just judges are what are judges? They're attorneys. So, you
Hmm.
know, they too many people, we need to make sure that we stress that that's a right that everybody should have. And everybody deserves a right to be heard in court too, to have their case heard. So we get
Hmm.
through a year's time. Matt and I spend all of our finances. I mean, we're like $11,000. Our entire resources are depleted at this point. It's uncertain because he's had a stroke. He can't work. We're trying to do everything just to vindicate this because it's damaged my. I mean, I lost friends. I lost family members. I lost clients. I lost people. I lost trust of a lot of people, you know. And that to me, that's harder on me because my reputation and everything I've done in my life is important to me. That's very important to me.
Hmm.
And so anyway, uh, go through. We're 5 weeks before trial. I'm thinking, oh my God, I can't believe we've gotten this far. You know, I filed some last minute motions and stuff like that. But I'm telling you, this evidence is overwhelming. It's overwhelming.
It
They were
is.
stupid enough to write this and actually admit to it on body cam footage and do this and do that. I mean, it's ridiculous. And lies. I mean, I could probably impeach them 100 times on each deposition. Um, Crazy things. A permanency plan. We didn't get a permanency plan until like 2 weeks before she turned 18. And like one of the caseworker wrote, we don't ask parents for any input into the planning for the child. Okay, well, do you ask the child? No, no. So this plan is for the child and the child's welfare and their permanent placement and their future and you don't ask the parents. God, no. Why would we ask the parents? And you don't ask the child. No, they don't know. Okay. And how much time have you spent with the parents or the family? Oh, I haven't spent any time with the parents or family. I'm just the lead social worker that took over after the child was removed. You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
This is how messed up this is. So we have people making decisions that don't even know you, don't even know your kids, don't know anything about. And like, I think in the permanency plan, it said that both Matt and I needed to be inpatient mental health treatment and alcohol and drug inpatient treatment. These were recommendations that were made. And we needed to take intensive parenting classes to learn how to protect our child. And we had to provide for our child as if we were not providing, as if she is starving to death and we're not working or what. Come on.
Right.
And there's nothing, absolutely nothing positive about either one of us. Nothing, nothing positive. When she talked about my whistleblower case, she said, yeah, she got fired for snitch people or whatever. What?
Yeah.
No.
No, she didn't even know what she was
Anyway,
talking
it's all
about.
over.
And it's like, I know
And
you've
then
listened.
they just have to spin it negative.
Yeah, I know you've listed like case law, Beltran versus Santa Clara County. And the quote is the right to
Yeah.
familial association is violated if state officials take actions that are so shocking to the conscience as to interfere with the rights of parents to
Mhm.
raise their children, including deliberate fabrication of evidence, like all that drug she said you had in your house.
Right. Right. I mean, that's ridiculous. So
Oops.
neither Matt and I have any police record. We don't have any arrest records. We've never been to jail. We never, you know, whatever. So my dad was a deputy sheriff. I mean, heaven's sakes. You know.
Yeah.
Anyway, long story short, get to right before trial. Here we are right before trial.
Oh,
You
yes.
want me to keep going or shall we wait for another time? Okay. All right. And they file summary judgment, which is common. I mean, everybody files summary judgment, which I don't know how to explain summary judgment, Maryann. What's the best way to explain it? It's the defendants will usually file this summary judgment, which basically is asking the court to make a decision, um, saying that there's nothing that a jury would need to decide.
Yeah. And
We
they're like
agree on
saying
all
just
the
dismiss it. That's what they're saying in the summary
right,
judgment.
like we agree on everything in there. There's no question. There's nothing that they are saying that we're saying different that a jury would need to decide. It's the most ridiculous bullshit I've ever seen in my life. I'm not
Right.
an attorney and I'm not a judge, but still ridiculous.
Well, it's
It's like
common
it's
sense.
a way out. Right. I mean, so obviously there's all kinds of stuff that we don't agree on. I mean, they were illegal. Perjury is illegal last time I checked. Fabrication, documenting, falsely documenting, illegal, criminal. Those are criminal,
Hmm.
things, and nobody goes to jail.
No,
Why would we
no.
send anybody to jail? So, okay, so we get that part. Summary judgment, get the ruling back. We're thinking, okay, this, no brainer. I submitted 100 exhibits, over 100 exhibits, including them on video saying, I'm holding the smoking gun practically. So comes back, the judge says, yeah, there was just too much of a burden of information that the plaintiffs presented that I didn't consider any of their evidence. And I'm granting summary judgment to the defendants.
Wow.
What? Wait, what? What kind of
I
twilight
remember.
zone do we live in?
I remember that day,
Oh my God.
Heidi.
I
You and I
thought
were
he like,
both in
what
shock.
in the, yeah, I'm like, what the, it's just crazy. So I, I I'm like, I don't know. What do we do now? I didn't plan for this. I was, I didn't know what we were going to do next, but I wasn't planning for that. So
Mm.
your case is over. Done. Sorry. So sorry. Too bad.
And he wouldn't look at evidence, just like my federal court judge admitted to not looking at evidence
Yeah,
to the
mine did
point,
too.
yeah, to the point where I had to file a motion to have him look at evidence. How bad is that? And this is our,
Not even, he did not. And you got to understand, this isn't the first time he's seen this evidence. This case has been going on for a year in discovery. So this judge, right when I filed the complaint, the judge knew because they have to approve it in order to get it on the docket. So he knows exactly everything. He knows. I sent him a flashback of every single exhibit that I had ahead of time, along with each opposing counsel so that they would have my exhibits ready to go right there. So he had evidence. He just didn't acknowledge it. He chose not to. And he invoked an improper doctrine that didn't even apply. I mean, it spiraled from there because when you don't acknowledge evidence and you just go off the defendant's crazy unsupported narrative, they're kind of come up with whatever I don't even know what narrative, what defense they would have had, but
mhm,
and he invokes immunities. Oh, they're immune, they're, wait,
right,
what? When somebody's lying about you, that is malicious. There's no immunity. If, in that, plus, I mean, if they're going to make every state employee immune that punches
right,
the clock at the courthouse, then sign me up, dude. I need to be signed up for working there.
right. And
I
you,
mean, none of it makes sense. So then
no,
I'm like, I don't know what to do, and I don't
well,
have anything. So then I started this advocacy program, which I've sent you my flyer because I
oh,
thought
let me show the
I've learned so
flyer.
much
Let me
about
show the
CPS and how
flyer.
it functions.
I'll
Yeah,
sh Here is the
that I
Family
got to be
Justice.
able to do something.
Right.
Yeah,
And
you can go ahead.
um, you can contact Heidi at
I
nostopheidi@gmail.com for this family
Yeah,
justice
no,
advocacy. Go ahead, Heidi. I'm sorry.
I went and I did a well, you did it too. We both went through it was pretty extensive
Yes.
victim advocate course
Mm-hmm.
online, and it led to the National Under Nova Victim Advocate. And then I did a postgraduate legal studies certificate. And what else did I do? I mean, education, so I could get up to par, with a lot of advocacy things.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned a lot about CPS. So I did all that kind of stuff to help me with the court case thing, plus, to help other people. So
Right.
now, like, I defend people in court. That's not what I do. I'm not there. I'm there for people who are falsely accused, who believe that they're being falsely documented about, and I audit. Yes. So my job isn't there to prove whether there is abuse or neglect or whatever. I'm there to hold CPS accountable. Right on. And I wish
Right.
somebody would have been able to do that for us too.
Right.
And so that's kind of what it is. And then I do parental alienation too. And I wanted to make it affordable for people,
Right.
because none of us with kids have a lot of money and,
Hmm.
to afford to hire. And I work with an attorney or without, either one.
Oh,
So please, and oh, and you know what I was gonna, did I ever tell you why I used No Stop Heidi? Did I ever tell you who called me that?
no.
This,
Uh-uh.
yeah, my nickname, or did, oh wow. My nickname, an executive producer, because my story was on CBS. I was on CBS Whistleblower, and then I was associate producer for season 2. They hired me to find other whistleblowers. So, back in the day, then 2018, 19, right
Mhm.
before all this happened. And the executive producer in New York City says, "I'm calling you the unstoppable Heidi Weber, like the unsinkable Molly Brown, from the Titanic.
Yep.
So because he said, you just don't give up. You do not give up. You just keep going and keep going. And I'm like, that is kind of true. I gotta say, it is kind of true because I am kind of a B word, with like sticking through things and I just hate it when people are wronged. I hate to be wrong.
Right.
I hate it when things are unfair. It just irks me. So so then I shortened it to No Stop Heidi because that's a lot easier than the unstoppable Heidi Weber. People are gonna
Yeah.
go think, oh, what does this mean? What's this lady? She's nuts. So that's how
Uh,
that story came about. Anyway,
well, it's funny that everybody thinks
I've
we're
done
nuts.
everything. You and I have done everything. We
Yeah.
have literally done everything. I've been a podcast host too, did my own podcast on whistleblowing,
Hmm.
which ended with all garbage, the whole CPS thing. So I, you know, you have too. We become kind of self-made experts on CPS and how to
Hmm.
deal with them, how to audit them, how to hold them accountable, how to advocate for parents without defending them necessarily. Um, I'm not there to diagnose anybody, even though we're healthcare professionals, and I don't, that's not the role that I'm in this place. So
Right.
I don't diagnose or either label anybody either. But I can do a lot of communication for people, mediation type things where I can communicate with CPS for them, a parent.
Hmm.
Um, and if you wait until your kids are taken, it's too late a lot of times. So
Hmm.
the sooner you can get help if you're a parent, and please get from an attorney. If there's a question of abuse or neglect, or there's any kind of question that your child was injured, I don't touch it with a 10-foot pole. I can't. I'm not in your state. I can't see what's going on. I'm, not licensed to do that. So, but my job is to make sure that you're treated very, that that's important to me, and that the truth is being told about you with the
Right.
judge so that everybody gets a fair shake. You know what I mean? Like that's important. And a lot of times, what I found is when I show up, CPS backs off. They don't want anybody that fights back. Trust me. They don't want anybody that knows their rights. They don't know, want anybody, and that makes their job difficult. So, um,
Definitely.
and so whenever I get a hold of them, I'm a family advocate, and they're like, we're out. Oh, we're dismissing your case. Sorry, whatever. So unless there's truly abuse or neglect, and I'm not
Right.
saying, I mean, we'll give the CPS workers a little credit here that these people do see abuse and neglect. They do, and it probably affects them. Obviously, it makes them lose their mind and their senses and sensibility, but of right and wrong. But I can't imagine. No, I can't imagine because I've seen it in the ER, and so have you. You've seen
Right.
it too.
Right.
Kids that are abused or neglected. Um, and that job is not an easy job. However, um, you know, targeting people for money and there's a lot of politics and money that revolve around CPS and that whole nightmare. There really is a nightmare. At the end of our case, there were 9 people. My daughter was 17 years and 8 months, and they had to hire 9 people. three attorneys. She had a guardian ad litem. She's 17 and a half. Guardian ad
Oh,
litem, her own personal attorney that the county is paying for that they're trying to bill us. And then the prosecutor, the county prosecutor. And then what the foster parents, two foster parents that were getting paid. So all these people they're on a paycheck because of my daughter, because of them removing my daughter.
kids for
Nine
cash.
people
Kids for
getting a paycheck.
cash. It's all kids
Yeah,
for cash.
absolutely it was. Nine people. And you know what? Oh, I think I told the judge this too. Nine people getting a paycheck off my daughter, and I hadn't spoke with a single one.
Oh,
That's not including the intake worker that took her in the first place. These nine people are separate people. And I had not, at the end of the case, when they dismissed it, I had not ever received a phone call or spoke in person with any one of those nine people.
parents need to know
None
this.
of them had reached out.
Right. And this is all
Yeah. Oh,
also a
yeah.
taxpayer's
I,
expense.
right. And they bill the parents. I mean,
Right.
I know there's another gal who, I think you and I were talking about that too, where her daughter was, she had multiple daughters, I think five or six daughters, and they were taken, from her. She couldn't provide a home. They were homeless. They're really struggling. And she was somebody of Spanish heritage, mi familia, and couldn't provide. I don't even know this lady, but I felt bad. So CPS, she's looking at CPS like, oh my God, thank you, please help me, with these girls. They take her kids away. She never sees them again. They adopt them out.
Oh,
Um, and yeah, it's really something. It, all this stuff happens, and then they charge her. They're charging her what I think it was like $600 a month just in child support. Like the county was trying to recoup the money that they're spending, on these girls. This lady, I mean, she probably makes $500 a month. She does
mhm.
no extra money. Well, then they age out. This is the kicker to the whole deal. Two of the two of the daughters, the three ones that were in care, age out, and they still keep her paying this $500 child support every month, even though they've aged
Oh.
out. The county isn't even paying for them.
See,
Last time I checked, she was still paying it. They were
is
still
it,
fighting.
isn't this double dipping because you know how
Absolutely.
Title 4E funding, all of that, that Title
You
4B
know,
is
they make
CPS.
parents child support. You of all people know the whole child support bullshit.
Yeah,
Um, Yeah, they make the parents pay for all this. So how would you like to have your kids taken, your family destroyed, and then they make you pay for it on top of it? On top of getting federal money, on top of that,
right. That's the
there's
double dipping.
there's a
That
lot.
is it. Yes. And then with the
But
paying
there's
the
nobody
child
holding them
support.
accountable.
Right. No one's
Yeah.
held accountable and they're getting their Title 4E funding, taxpayers, listen up, and then they're getting the Title 4D funding, which is child support enforcement. So, the state is shelling out money for these foster parents that aren't even equipped to handle what they're going to handle, but they don't care because those are their Denali payments, right? So then that parent, the biological parent, is then paying child support. So I'm really confused about this double dipping. Make it
Well, and
stop.
then you gotta understand that the last statistics I saw were children were seven, seven times more likely to be sexually abused and physically abused in foster care than if they were left in their own home.
Right.
And by abused, I don't mean by the foster parents. I think by and far, I think a lot of foster parents are great people. They're people that really genuinely want to help and care. And CPS is just as dishonest with them as they are with the parents. They keep them in the dark. They don't tell them anything. They don't offer any resources. A lot of foster parents, I've heard them bitch over and over and over again saying, I can't be a foster parent anymore because they've used me. They, rip these kids out in the middle of the night and I'm left holding all the pieces. And just I feel
Mhm.
bad for a lot of them. Now, a lot of them are pieces of garbage too that are money hungry, and that's the only reason they're doing it. But there are a lot of really great people that provide foster care, or they want to help. They're trying to do
I
the right
I
thing.
think those are
It's
few and
CPS
far
that's like
between.
drunk. Yeah, and I think it depends on the area that you're in, you know, which part of the country and things like
Mhm.
that. But it's getting worse. I mean, CPS is supposed to be orchestrating all this, and they're about as corrupt as you possibly can be. Um, I tell everybody, I don't know, you and I talked about this because you kind of believe that too. I'm sorry, but child abuse and neglect is against the law in every single state. There's
Mhm.
no state where that is not illegal. If you're beating your kids, it's against the law. And what happens when you break the law? You need to go to jail. So,
Well,
can CPS arrest anybody? Hell no, they can't. They have no power.
so then, Heidi, why don't we just
Only law enforcement.
get rid of CPS and utilize the police? And
Right.
that's just
Everything
what
needs
should
to
be
go through
happening.
law enforcement.
Right. Right.
Absolutely. CPS is just a mechanism to steal people's kids, basically, and
Right.
make them pay for it. That's the money machine, is all it is. They
Right.
have no right to, they don't have the ability to arrest anybody. They don't have the ability, they can't come in your home
Yeah.
unless you allow them to.
Yeah.
You don't even have to speak to them if you don't want to. I mean, they have no power, basically, to do anything. They like to pretend like they do.
Right. Oh,
Um,
I wish I
but law
never
enforcement,
I really wish I never let that thing in my house. I'm telling you.
you know,
And
I've never hated anything in my life as much as I hate this worker. And her name, again, for everybody to hear, is Michelle Harris. And she's
yeah,
in Minnesota. No. Um,
and training
she is,
police officers.
I know.
Ah, oh my
But
God.
like the Minneapolis Police Department doesn't have its enough problems already. Um,
Oh man.
which I don't know if you're following. There've been a lot of shootings, a lot of terrible things going on here. The police department tries to do its best, but the George Floyd thing and all that. Oh my God, what a nightmare. How horrible that stuff was.
Hmm.
Terrible. And the police department, they're whatever. Anyway,
That was a
they
mess.
don't need any more problems, the police department here. And now they have her training them. And at least that's what she says online. Makes me
Oh,
sick.
it combined outweigh me. They're very obese. Remember the first one would wear
Oh my,
white pleather cowboy boots
right.
in my house.
Oh my gosh.
And
I
her
forgot about
hair,
that. That's
yeah,
hilarious.
her hair stuck up and it went off to the side. And it's like she's still wearing her hair like that to this day.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah.
See, that's why they're unhappy people. They are unhappy people who are stuck in, I don't know, loser land, Nerdville. I don't know who knows. I don't know. They most like this caseworker was very unaccountable. She was very narcissistic. Some people like they have a chip on their shoulder and they think they're gonna, you know,
Mhm.
and I'm probably one of them. I don't know. No, I can say I'm sorry and admit mistakes easily. I make mistakes all the time, actually. But this
Mhm.
gal, was one of those people that just could not. I mean, she was not going to let me show her, anything or, tell her anything. And she was in charge and she was going to show me who's in charge, that kind of stuff. And it's like, um, when I wrote that letter complaining about her sending my child off and endangering my child, I wrote it to the director and I never even got a response.
See, yeah.
There's
It's
nobody to complain to in these places. Nobody
right.
gets held accountable. You can't,
That's why, and you said
what he did, he gave it to her supervisor who gave it to the caseworker. She's the one that contacted me. She said, my director and my supervisor got your letter. How did you get a hold of it? And they wouldn't let us change. I mean, so she retaliated up the wazoo.
right.
Boy, look,
And you gave me this case
anyway,
law immunity, and it says a case need not be directly on point, in quotes, but existing precedent must have placed the statutory or constitutional question beyond debate. Ashcroft versus L. Kidd, 563 U.S. 731, 741 in 2011.
that's a
Well,
famous case law.
that's a
Yeah,
fa
famous
yeah.
case.
Yeah, qualified immunity protects, in quotes, all but the plainly incompetent or those who knowingly violate the law, in
Right.
quotes. So that totally fits
Yeah.
your case as well as mine. And the courts are, in quotes, permitted to exercise their sound discretion in deciding which of the two prongs of the qualified immunity analysis should be addressed first in light of the circumstances in the particular case at hand. Pearson, 555 U.S. at 236, in quotes, in determining whether the plaintiff,
Another famous case.
what's that?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh,
I said
okay.
that's another famous
Another one.
case that is, yeah,
Right.
in
And
just a lot of different things, not just immunity. It's really, that's a good case law.
right.
These are, I don't know if Maryann said this before, that what she's reading are all my like compilation of all the case law that actually supports all these kinds of things. So if you need any help, contact me or even ask Maryann. She can give it out to you. If you really, your attorney is struggling or you want help with other case things, you can set precedent. So
Right.
go
Right.
ahead and I filed, even though we lost, I guess the most recent thing, even though they granted summary judgment, I did this legal postgraduate certificate and did all these other things and figured out in the civil rules of procedure, the federal rules of civil procedure, which is this like war and peace novel about everything, legal wise, and found that there's a rule 60B federal rules that allows you to be able to file a motion to reconsider because we got threatened not to file an appeal either by the opposing counsel.
I didn't
Said
know
we'll
that.
financially ruin you if you. I didn't know that. Yeah, right after we got the ruling, the opposing counsel, which there were, you got to think Matt and I we're pro se, so it's just me and him and all these papers and briefs and motions, and there were I think seven. I know there were seven. We filed, I did all this research and studying and everything because I'm thinking there got to be some other way other than an advocate for others. There has to be some way I can get some kind of justice in this case. There has to be some backdoor somewhere. So I found this Rule 60 motion, which I'm putting in together right now. But basically, it says that there was a grave injustice done, and that the judge needs to reconsider and reopen the case, and then you give all your explanation, argument, why, and everything, legal argument. So I'm putting that together right now. It's kind of a Hail Mary, but I thought, what, at least I can cause these people problems. I mean, if
Right.
I can't get justice, at least I can make them, go through this over and over till somebody hears me. Um, so that's where we're at right now. So knock on wood, it's a Hail Mary pass. I'm gonna be filing it here in a couple of weeks, and I'll have to keep you, because I'm gonna tell you how it goes, but to keep your listeners, you'll have to find out if I ever got any vindication or justice out of this. I'm gonna keep going. No stopping me. Keep going till something happens.
Yeah,
Or
because
at
I'm gonna,
least,
right. I'm gonna track your
yeah.
case and I'll have you back on for updates. And how can people reach you again?
At nostopheidi@gmail.com. So especially if you need a family advocate or, I do free consults. So, you know, email me. We'll set up a time to talk. Like I said, first consult I do with people is free. So I want this. I'm not taking anybody anywhere. I want to help people so that nobody goes through this kind of bullshit that you and I have been through.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of other people too. So save them that hassle. That makes me happy. Then it
Right.
makes it at least a little bit, I don't know. Anyway,
Well,
I love you to
oh, I
death.
love
You
you
are a
more.
beautiful, beautiful best. And I can't wait until I get to come see you and we can go shopping.
Oh,
And
definitely,
I don't know.
definitely.
We have to have money for that. Really. That money thing always gets in the way, but
I know
oh,
it.
we
Yeah,
can
and
at least drink wine together.
right, and we're going to talk about this poem later on our next podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll talk
So,
about what it feels like when your kids, when you lose your kids and
right. It
that
applies,
the
I think
pain.
it applies to dads too. I don't want to leave my dads out, you know.
Right. Right. Oh,
Right.
absolutely. We're moms and I think we get the crap into the stick though more often than the dads do. Lately seems to be a trend lately, but that's a whole nother deal.
It's another
Um,
ball of
another,
wax. But
right. Right.
but
All this stuff.
yeah, hey, don't jump off, okay?
Okay.
Here we
Hello to all of Marianne's listeners. You're so lucky to be listening to her. So my buddy, keep listening, keep tuning in. You'll find out if I have a happy ending or bad ending. Thanks, Marianne.
Well, don't jump off. Hey, Slam the Gavel's a podcast to help the public understand what really goes on in these courtrooms. I'm your host, Maryann Petri. You can find me on Spotify, YouTube, Apple iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google, Spreaker, and other platforms I don't know about. Again, feel free to buy me a coffee to help keep this podcast going. Thank you, Heidi Weber, No Stop Heidi. Thank you so very much.